0, 1, 2, 3.
What if I say these cars have seen more history than most of us ever will? Welcome to Pondicherry's Vintage Car Festival, where every car has a story. And today, we're about to witness them all.
Oh, that's real good.
From roaring engines to classic curves, these beauties aren't just vehicles. They are time machines on wheels. But what is it really like to actually own and drive one? Let's find out. We have the passionate owners who keep these legends alive.
Let's get started.
Oh, that's real good.
So your good name, sir?
Ranjit Pratap.
How did you develop interest in collecting cars?
Personally, if you ask me, as a child, I love cars.
Okay.
And my grandfather was a big car dealer in the early 1920s and 30s
In which
in
place?
Chennai.
Chennai.
In Chennai, and we were importing cars from US and also from France. French connection we had
Wow, that's cool.
way back in 1940s. So we were dealers for American cars, British cars also.
That is
But after 1940s, mid 40s, my grandfather gave up the dealership of English cars because of Swadeshi movement, and he concentrated more on American and other cars.
Okay.
So when I was a kid going to school, I had different cars because we had a workshop. We were dealers for many cars, and so we used to go to school in different old cars. So that's how the passion
developed.
for cars came up. And at the time, we didn't care much for those days cars. But as time passed, when we knew that these kind of cars were not made, the kind of shape, the kind of design, and the characters. So we developed some kind of a nostalgia to that. Because these cars relate to my childhood.
Of course.
So we go back to
So
our
do you have
childhood.
any car which you went to school with? Still?
Yes.
Which one
yes.
is that?
It's in Chennai. I have many cars
Okay.
personally,
Right
but
now,
these,
do you have any cars which have
That's
some
one-
story related to you?
there's a car called Jetta Volkswagen over there.
Okay.
In college, when I had a Beetle Volkswagen. So I fell in love with Volkswagen from that time, and because the quality was amazing, really fantastic. So from then, when Volkswagen evolved from the Beetle to the normal cars, I started buying these kind of cars.
So what are the challenges you face maintaining vintages?
It is a tremendous challenge, and challenges become a greater challenge if you don't like what you're doing.
Exactly.
But when you like something what you're doing, it's not a challenge.
way
It's
to
a
do it,
challenge,
yeah.
but it's not a difficult challenge.
Great.
That's the main thing.
So is there any funny story or any something from your past which you could relate to some car which is like close to you?
If somebody asks you, if you have children, who's your most favorite child? What will you say?
Right, got it.
See, I buy cars which I like. I don't buy cars which I don't like. So, for me, all cars are like my own kids, my
14
children.
Benz.
You're from, by the way?
I'm from Chennai. So my father owns the oldest Benz, the 1914 Benz, my grandfather's car. So that was in the family for many years, for more than 110 years now. So I said, okay, one day I'll restore that car. So after almost 3 years of restoration, I got that car ready. So once I saw that how good it was after being restored, I said, let me start getting into this hobby of collecting cars. So over the last 5-6 years, I've got about 8-10 cars now, and I keep them as all junk cars and then restore it.
Okay.
Like how it was originally in the factory back then. Yeah, it's
anything like
overwhelming. We didn't expect on a Monday weekday that so much people will come to see these cars. You know, we've seen people will, of course, anything goes on the road, people see it and enjoy. But today we saw this overwhelming response here, you know, and this is what keeps us also going, you know. And even if one among these 100,000 people you take up the hobby, that's a great thing, you know. And it doesn't need to be expensive cars. It could be a Fiat, it could be a Herrera, it could be anything, you know. And these are all mechanical machines.
Of course,
So
maintenance should be like really hard.
it is, but there are not much people now to work on these cars. You know, the older mechanics are all giving up their jobs. The newer ones are not interested. You know, nowadays the new cars are all remove and replace. There's no repair. Anything gone wrong, they'll take it and chuck it in the new cars. But in these cars, you have to work on the old parts, replace it. Yeah, it's got an interesting story. This is the James Bond's first car in his movie, in Dr. No. Yeah, this is not the exact car, the same model. Same model. So before he went into the Aston Martins, now you see the James Bond movies all have Aston Martins. So first movie of James Bond, the Bond car was a Sunbeam Alpine. This is a British racing car.
Model's name is?
It's a Sunbeam Alpine Series 3 and it's a British racing car, you know, and this is from 1963.
So it was designed as a racing car in 1963?
63, yes.
So where are you from, sir?
So I'm from Chennai. I work for hotels. I'm a hotelier.
Hotelier, okay.
Yeah. So
So what is the craziest reaction you've got when you first drove a vintage car? You know, people give this
craziest reaction from people. So what happens is when you drive a vintage car on the roads inside the city, these are of course head turners. So people try to sometimes stop you and compliment you. People sometimes just come in front of you and try to.
Done that? Like
Yeah, they do
in
that.
front of your car and saying your car looks
I've had that. I've had that experience where people actually, especially in a two-wheeler or something, they cut across and they'll stop you and they won't talk to you. So driving these is not easy. Sometimes it's a little difficult to handle. These don't have all the power steering and power brake and all that. So you don't want people to come and disturb you. But then looking at their interest levels. And of course, your passion, you stop and you actually talk to them and you tell them, whatever they want to know, and so that's how it goes.
So, if at all you could time travel with this car, which era would you choose? Like the last of 18th century when cars actually was made, or?
Personally, I think I love classic cars a little more than the vintages. So anything that was built after the 1950s are the classic cars.
Okay.
So I am more inclined towards the classics rather than the vintages.
Okay.
So probably something to do with childhood, because in our childhood we saw more of these cars which were probably built after the 50s. So I think that's the era that I would yeah. So big cars, powerful cars, small cars, race cars. So that's the sort of area.
How many cars have you collected?
No, I'm not a big collector. I've just got into it recently. I have a Willys 1964 Jeep, and I have this 1963 Triumph Herald.
1963?
Yeah, this is 1963 Triumph Herald.
Triumph?
Herald.
Herald.
Yeah,
Okay.
so this has got an interesting history. So Triumph, as a company, they used to manufacture only bikes, motorbikes. And in '61, they started making cars out of a factory in Coventry in UK. And so they started making these cars were designed by an Italian gentleman called Giovanni Micheletto. So Giovanni Micheletto started designing cars for Triumph.
Okay.
And I think from 61 to 72 or 73, Triumph built cars. This particular model, the Herald, in 1962, they started making in India as well through another company called Standard. So in India, the Standard Herald had become very popular because it was being made in Chennai.
Okay. The challenges you face in any of the past once it's gone.
So it is difficult. So there is a second-hand market kind of place where you can still find some essential parts, but there are many parts that you actually can't find.
So, sir, Simi, how did you develop passion for this collecting cars, especially vintage cars?
It was a childhood dream actually. It's not a passion, it's more of a dream. And these are dreams coming true. And you don't get a chance to live your dreams too often. So this is just a blessing, I think, to be able to live your dream, to be able to have a car, to be able to drive it, and even let others enjoy the same passion.
What is your oldest collection you have, like the cars?
This is the oldest car. This is a 1944 Ford World War II Jeep.
Okay, the name of the model?
It's a Ford GPW. That's what it was called.
GPW. Nice.
That was the code for the vehicle that was built for World War II.
So how many cars have you collected so far?
I've got 4 cars. It's a small collection, but I don't just buy a car because
You
it's
have to,
available.
yeah.
I only have bought cars which I've dreamt of
Passionate
owning
about.
as a child. So I've always loved this Jeep. I used to read these Commando comics where these Jeeps were featuring there. And I have a Volkswagen Beetle. I have a Ford
Is
Mustang.
it all there?
No,
Is it all here?
they're not all here. But one more is a Mercedes that I have there. It's a Fintail. It's a green color, 1965.
Okay. And what would you like to say to people who are gonna come to this field new, who are planning to get vintage cars, the advice you would give?
So it needs a lot of patience.
Yes.
You have to be very patient. It doesn't happen overnight. Even when you get the car is going to have trouble. It's going to break down, but you have to keep on regardless.
And how
And
hard
you
is it being searching parts for the car which has gone?
You have to have the right connections. This fraternity is very well knit, very well connected. Everybody helps everybody as well. So we managed to
So
get
do
it
you
all
remember
together.
who actually started this club for vintage cars?
Now I have no idea.
Okay.
But the gentleman who we were with there, Ranjit Pratap, who you said looks like a
Yes.
doctor,
Yes.
he actually heads this association
From Chennai.
from Chennai.
So there's a separate association like this in Bangalore?
Yes, so what happens is that there are various clubs. So there is, in Bangalore, there's the Karnataka Vintage and Classic Car Club. In Chennai, there's a club. In Bombay, in Delhi, in Calcutta, every city has got clubs. Now, what we are doing here is an association which brings all the clubs together.
That's nice.
So we've got participation from Bangalore, Chennai, Hyderabad,
Oh, great.
Bombay,
So here
Delhi.
there's every club right now. We admire these vintage cars because they've lasted for decades, right? What if I told you something even older? Our soil is dying. Just like the cars need fuel to run, we need soil to survive. No soil, no food. No food, no life on planet. See, if we can preserve these vintage cars, we can also preserve our soil. So join the Save Soil movement. Thank you. Wow, the curves.